Islands in the Stream. Ernest Miller Hemingway was born on July 21, 1899, in Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb of the Windy City, as the cold northern metropolis of Chicago was called without affection on those days when icy winds swept in from Lake Michigan. After World War I, he lived in Paris, where the rich intellectual and artistic climate was warm and inviting to a young writer. But the winters were cold and wet. In the spring of 1928, he sought out for the first time the heat of the islands in the stream, the Gulf Stream. His goal that April was Florida's southmost island, Key West. The ship bearing Ernst and his second wife, Pauline Pfeffers, stopped briefly in Cuba, which lay on the south side of the stream. Key West lay roughly 90 miles away on the north side of the Gulf Stream. The warm currents of the Gulf of Mexico accelerates as they flow through the narrows between Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula and the Florida Keys. The stream then turns east through the Florida Straits before veering north past the Bahama Islands and the fishing paradise called Bimini. Continuing their northern flow, the soothing waters of the stream eventually bring warmth to Bermuda, the British Islands. And such icy islands as Iceland and Greenland. However, the northern islands are not the ones that enthralled Hemingway. Key West, Bimini, Cuba. These are the three islands in the stream that claimed the allegiance of Hemingway for the final 3 decades of his life. Of the three, only Cuba lies south of the Tropic of Cancer, thus qualifying it as a tropical island. But both Key West and Bimini are generally regarded as tropical isles, partly because of their heat. There are palm trees and the beauty of the waters surrounding them, and partly because, in a phrase not known in Hemingway's day, they were laid back. These were easygoing, unconventional locales where a man could soothe a thirst, stroll around barefooted all year long, and go about his business free from the pressures of too much civilization. Key West was and is still a small town, as is Alice-town, the largest town on Bimini. Havana, by contrast, is a big, sprawling city, the largest in the Caribbean, known from early colonial times as the Pearl of the Antilles. For his Cuban home, Hemingway chose to live not in the bustling, energetic capital, but in San Francisco de Paula, a small town west of Havana. In addition to year-round hot weather, all three islands had in common one major asset: fishing. As a boy, Ernst turned to the streams of northern Michigan, casting for freshwater fish, tested his sporting skills. Catching the giant sea creatures of the Gulf Stream requires much more than skill. It demanded strategy, strength, endurance, and knowledge of the behavior of the huge fish and the other ocean predators that might also be seeking the same game as the deep-sea angler. Fishing in the stream was for Hemingway a challenge, and he was a man who pursued challenge. His biggest challenge, of course, was to reach for new heights in literature. His years on the islands were productive, but only 2 of his novels were about the sea. In one, The Old Man and the Sea, he achieved a masterpiece. As for the other, Islands in the Stream, we will never know how great it might have been. Published after his death, it lacked the final, meticulous revision he brought to his best work. The reader has to settle for many wonderful passages, settings, and characters. All 3 of his islands have changed since his death some 4 decades ago, but one thing has proved constant. The presence of Ernest Hemingway remains alive and well in Key West, Bimini, and Cuba. Hemingway's Islands in the Stream. Okay, let me stop here. Hope you enjoy it.